Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Memperkenalkan nama saya Mirul Ashraf bin Ahmad Jalani. Nomor metrik di 202010955577. Di sini saya akan membentangkan tentang how to set up your computer hardware and install Windows 10. First, safety measure for computer hardware installation. Wear proper apparel, unplug all computer equipment and peripheral before putting any covering case. Keep your work area clean and well lit. Check for damaged part. Do not force component into computer ports. Use an anti-static waste strap on. Discharge yourself by touching a ground metal object such as a computer casing. Replace all case of covering after inspection of installation. Check all circuit and installation with the instructor before power is applied. Retain all screw during disassembly in container such as film canister for proper assembly. Electronic components should never become hot. Hot component means that there is a problem with the circuit. Disconnect any power immediately. The most important safety rule of all, always be careful.
Introduction of computer hardware. First, the motherboard. The motherboard or components of a computer communicate through a circuit board called the motherboard. 2. The central processing unit CPU. The CPU is often called the brain of a computer, thanks to its direct plug connection to the motherboard and communication with all of the computer's other components. The graphic process unit. This graphic card makes it possible for computer to generate high-end visual like those found in the many different types of video games. Graphic cards often communicate directly with the display monitor, means if the GPU is high, so the display in monitor is also high, generate visual. 4. Random access memory, RAM. RAM, also known as volatile memory, stores data regarding frequently accessed programs and processes. RAM help program and games start up and close quickly. 5. Storage. All computers need somewhere to store their data. Modern computer either use a hard disk drive or solid state drive. HDD are made of an actual disk into which data is stored. The disk is read by a mechanical arm. HDD have no moving parts and are faster than a hard disk drive. HDD, because no time is spent waiting for mechanical arm to find data on the physical location on the disk. See step-by-step instruction on computer hardware setup. Step 1. Procuring part. First, you will need the hardware parts of computers such as motherboard, CPU, computer casing, and others. Step 2. Gather tools and supplies. The tools you will need is screwdriver, wire cutter, grounding strap, and others. Step 3. Open the case. Open the computer case by removing the side panels. If the panel is removed, sliding it back, then lifting it away from the case. 4. Step 4. Install the motherboard. Follow these steps to install the motherboard in the case. First, install the I&O bezel plate into the opening in the back of the case. It push in from the inside. Install standoff in the case. The standoff screw into the motherboard mounting holes. Check the screw holes location on the motherboard for exact placement. Lower the motherboard into the case and align with the I&O bezel. Step 5. Install hard disk drive or solid state drive. First, find a 3.5 drive to install the drive in. 2. Slide the drive into place until the screw holes on the sides are lined up with the holes in the case. Step 6. Install optical drive. Slide the drive into the drive bay until the screw holes are lined up in the front, and the front of the drive is flush with the front of the case. Make sure that is oriented correctly. Step 7. Install the CPU. It is installed on the corner of the motherboard. To install the CPU, first find a corner marking that designed pin 1 of the CPU. On this AMD brand processor, the corner is marked with an arrow. Consult the manufacturer documentation for specific information about your processor. 2. Find the corresponding marking on the CPU socket and insert the CPU so that the markings are lined up. 3. Push the rod down to lock the processor in place. Step 8. Install random access memory RAM. First, set the RAM board in the socket. Check to see that the notch in the board is in the correct location. If it is not, turn it around 180 degrees. 2. Press firmly on both ends of the board to set it into the socket. Make sure the tabs lock into place. Step 9. Install the CPU fan. First, place thermal compound the CPU following the instruction provided with the compound. Second, set the fan assembly on the CPU with mounting tabs aligned. 3. Pull the locking rod down on the fan assembly to lock into place. 4. Connect the fan assembly power connector to the motherboard. Consult the manual to determine proper placement. Step 10. Install case fan. Align the mounting holes by holding the fan to the mounting pad on the inside of the case. The fan needs to be mounted so that it blows air out of the case. Step 11. Install power supply. Align the mounting hole in the case and power supply. Step 12. Connect cables. Every device that has been installed needs power. The motherboard has 2 power connection, and there are 2 connectors specifically for SATA device. The other connector will run fans and other non-SATA device. Data cable connects drive and front panel device to the motherboard. Please consult the motherboard documentation for the exact placement of connector. Step 3. Wrap up. Now that the components are completely installed, the last thing to do is to reinstall the side panel on the case. The computer is now ready to be turned on and to have software load on it. Step 14. Testing. After building a computer system, it needs to be tested. The most basic test is to switch the system on to check it starts without error. The other test will be the one you select when planning the hardware installation. We go to how to enter the BIOS on a Windows 10 PC. First, navigate to setting. You can get there by click the gear icon on the start menu. 2. Select update and security. 3. Select recovery from the left menu. 4. Click restart now. Under advanced startup, the computer will reboot to a special menu. 5. Click troubleshoot. 6. Click advanced option. 7. Select UEFI firmware setting. If you don't see this icon, then press startup settings instead. When your PC is restart, tap F1 or F2 to access the BIOS. 8. Click restart. Your system will restart and take you to the BIOS. We move to how to upgrade to Windows 10. Step 1. Confirm that Windows 10 has been activated by going to setting, to update and security, to activation. If you don't see the activation windows, you must not proceed and you will need to wait until Windows 10 activate. Step 2. Next, search system and choose that first option to see whether you are using the 32-bit or 64-byte version of Windows. Step 3. The Windows 10 download is around 20.5 GB, 2.5 GB, and will need to be copied to a blank DVD or a USB flash drive for the installation. Go to Microsoft official website and click download tool now. This just downloads a small setup tool. Step 4. Run the Windows 10 media creation tool. When the download is finished, plug in your USB flash drive or insert a blank DVD in your PC. Find the download media creation tool file in your download folder and run it. When the Windows 10 setup appears, select the create installation media for another PC option and click the next button. Step 5. Choose your Windows 10 version. On the next screen, choose the language edition and architecture to match your current version of Windows 10. Click Next to continue. Step 6. Choose a storage device and start the download. Select the device you are going to use for the Windows 10 installation, USB or ISO, and click Next. Click Next and the 4 GB download will begin. If you create a DVD ISO file, you will now need to burn the file to be a DVD before you can use it to boot your PC. Else you can boot using the USB flash drive. Step 7. Begin the Windows 10 installation. After you boot your PC using the Windows 10 DVD or USB flash drive, choose the install now and then skip the request for a product key. As long as you have already upgraded this PC to Windows 10, you will not need a product key. Step 8. Perform a custom install. When choose the custom install Windows only, this will erase everything on your existing Windows 10 drive, so be sure you have backup everything you want to keep before going any further. Step 9. Choose where to install. Select the drive partition you want to install Windows 10 on. If you are not sure which partition to use, seek help before going any further. If you are happy to continue, click the format option and click OK on the warning dialog box that appears when the drive format is complete. Click Next. Step 10. Complete the setup. The Windows 10 installation will now start. When it's almost complete, you will be asked for a product key again. So click the Do Is Later option and finish the rest of the setup. Step 11. Confirm that Windows 10 has activated. Once Windows 10 is installed, repeat step 1 to check that it has been activated. You may need to click the Activate button. If activation won't complete successfully, you will need to contact Microsoft, explain what's happened and ask for an activation code. So finally, that's all from me. I hope you all understand what that I'm going to present, and I'm sorry if I have a misunderstanding or miscommunication in my presentation. So my reflection is whether you want to study or you just want somebody knowledge about this computing, you may have to follow the step that's given to you. It's because you can understand that much more quickly that how things working in your computer, and you will be easier to understand about the process and step. Thank you.